dresses up like a bat clearly has issues.
How's it going, guys? This is Worst Reviews, where we're going to be with Trav and Kolyn. We're going to be reviewing.
Us as always.
Yeah, we're going to be reviewing
Batman Begins,
the first of
Christopher Nolan trilogy
reviews.
Yes, we are going to try to review some older films. Kolyn was the one that suggested, so we have to thank him for this. We picked up today the Dark Knight Trilogy on Blu-ray. This is very, very nice. I like the symbol on the back as well. It has all the goodness on it, which has this little booklet and all that. So, yeah, it's a really nice box set. This is probably my favorite box set of this so far that I've seen. So what do you guys think about the casting for this film? Kolyn?
Personally, I think Michael Caine did a great job as Alfred. I know a lot of people.
That's my Alfred.
People after he did the whole trilogy, people were like, "Yeah, he's the definitive live-action Alfred." I'm sure if Jeremy Irons comes back as Alfred in the newer Batman films, I mean, he might have some competition because I like Jeremy Irons.
Yeah, he
as
just
Alfred.
needs more screen time. You know.
But as far as conveying that father figure for Bruce Wayne, yeah, Michael Caine did an awesome job, and I mean Morgan Freeman did an amazing job.
Oh yeah.
Lucius Fox. I mean, I can't really think of anybody else to.
I forgot her name, but while we were rewatching this, the Rachel Dawson.
Katie Holmes.
Yeah, I prefer her over the Dark Knight girl. I don't know what it is about her, but her charm is just better, in my opinion. I don't know. It's just something about her I like better in this movie, so I really wish she would have came back. And you said it was because she was pregnant. She couldn't come back for the Dark Knight.
Yeah, she was.
The other one was good, but she was just, I don't know. I really liked this one. And maybe it's because I grew up with this film, but I don't know. Ryan, what do you think of all the different casting in this?
I don't mind anybody. I mean, I think y'all have already hit the nail on the head with
pretty much anybody.
Alfred's
in this
the
movie
definitive
is
Alfred.
good.
Michael Caine. I mean, I don't know. Like Jeremy Irons is really going to have to impress. I mean, I know he's a different kind of Alfred, just a bit different. But Morgan Freeman is always been one of my favorite actors. I mean, he was as good as he could be. that's what I can say about this movie. It was as good as, in the areas it needed to be. It was as good as it could be.
And Liam Neeson is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Personally, for me, Christian Bale, I love him as Batman.
Yeah.
I love him. Like
I
don't know what else I can say.
As each movie goes, we're not going to talk about the other two films, but I'm just saying for the rest of the trilogy, he just gets better, and I really like him. I mean, I don't know. I really like Ben Affleck so far. Like, I need more screen time with him to really fall more in love with his Batman. But I really like it. But Christian Bale has his own modern Batman going for him. And your thoughts, Kolyn?
And honestly, like they were saying, I mean, Ben Affleck did a really good job as the character. I mean, he really dug deep, and you can really see the growth, especially in since this is the origin story of Batman as a whole. He really goes from being this character that doesn't really know, like, he starts the movie out wanting to, straight up shoot his murderer, and then as he goes through it, he grows and realizes that it's a good he does a good job showing the character's growth. He does a really good job of that, and you can really believe that he could actually devote his life to something this extreme.
Yeah, you can tell he's suffering. And that scene when Chill gets shot and he watches it happen, and she's like, "Oh, you don't need to see this." I do, because he's like, you believe it. You can see his suffering. You can see look on his face when he's sitting in the court, just staring at him, burning a hole in the back of his head. Like he's like, "I hate you," because he was there when his parents got killed. So. It's very, you can really tell. And so on that aspect, this is like the best Batman origin I've seen. I mean, we may have gotten some good animated stuff. You probably know of some good animated stuff, but for me, this is like the best.
Yeah,
origin
it's
for
really
Batman.
It's really only if you don't count the 1989 or the little bit we got in Batman Forever, this is really the only definitive origin we've gotten for Batman, like as far as not just showing his parents being killed, but as far as showing like what it actually takes for him to become Batman. I mean, and like actually,
it's told really well. Like, I mean, the pacing is really well done.
All of his training, and just speaking from a comic book perspective, one thing I wish they would have touched on more is where he got all his detective skills, not just his martial arts skills. That's one thing they didn't. That's probably one of the only cons I have with the film is they didn't really touch on him, like getting his detective skills. I'm sure he did learn from some people, because it does state that he did travel the world quite a bit before he went to the League of Shadows and started learning all the martial arts. But I wish they would have shown him learning more about his detective skills and his escape artistry and all that. It would have rounded up the character a little more. But that's just a minor gripe. I mean, I love the film, and as far as being accurate to the comics, this was real before. Before Ben Affleck and all this stuff and Batman v Superman, this was the definitive comic book Batman. I mean, this one's dark and gritty, and it's more realistic.
And some people hate that Ben Affleck, that they're even bringing Batman back so soon. It's like, you gotta realize, people, that The Dark Knight just stands on its own as a trilogy, and like it will stand as a legend in its own for a while. And even if we have another Batman, that's almost like why we're doing this right here. We got a new Batman to look forward to. We're getting the solo Batman movie, and he's like, why not go back and celebrate this great trilogy, you know? And Batman Begins, that's how it began. So it's like, it's really well done. Any like major negatives, guys?
That was really my only gripe, was that they didn't really show his roots of his detective skills. I mean, because that's like a big part of the character. It's not just his martial arts and not just his stealth tactics, but also his
and
detective skills.
Really focused on Batman doing no killing whatsoever. Like,
that's another thing.
The only thing that I find funny, though, is what I noticed when we watched it on Blu-ray, is that like he's pretty much like, he's not like, whenever he completes his training in the League of Shadows, he's going to have to kill this guy, but then in doing so, he kills all those soldiers in there. Like, I mean, I get it, like, that's how, it wasn't really his fault that they die once he, like, made the fire make everything, like, ignite, but, like,
and we also don't know how many of them got out.
Yeah, that's true, but it just kind of feels like, oh, they all were trying to run out, and everything's exploding, and they pretty much all die, but I don't know. We don't know how many got out, but that was my only little gripe of like, well, for somebody that's not wanting to kill one guy, he pretty much kills his fellow League of Shadows, so I don't know. It's a good story, it's a good, like, I didn't really, when I first saw the movie, I didn't really expect Liam Neeson's character to come back as the villain. I don't know why I didn't expect that, I should have seen it coming. But I was just like, he saves him, I guess because he became so close to him and everything. But I don't know, that's my only thing. That and Scarecrow, I feel like they could have had more with him. I mean, the little bit that we got, especially the scene where he gasses him back, was really well done. Because he kind of got revenge on gassing him. Like when he's like, oh, you gotta lighten up, and I just felt like there could have been more with Scarecrow, because it didn't it doesn't really seem like, besides Roz and all that, it doesn't really seem like there was much of a villain, kind of like The Dark Knight, where the Joker is the villain throughout the entire film. Batman Begins, I just felt like there could have been more Scarecrow scenes.
Yeah, that's a lot of people's
maybe
major
there was some stuff cut out. Maybe there was some stuff.
That's a lot of people's major complaint with this movie, is that there wasn't enough Scarecrow, but. Yeah. But
it was more about Batman becoming Batman more than it was like a villain.
Another thing we didn't touch on, and I don't want to leave him out. That's nothing we didn't when we were talking about the cast. And I was going to bring this up. Is Gary Oldman as Jim Gordon? We didn't bring that up,
amazing.
and he
looks
honestly,
just like him.
Oh yeah, if you look at the Frank Miller, I've mentioned Frank Miller on this before, but if you look at Batman Year One. Like with what Jim Gordon looks like in that comic, I mean, Gary Oldman nailed that. He looks just like and acts just like Jim Gordon. He really did a great job on that. And like I said, they really. I mean, we'll talk about it more in the next two reviews, and I'll explain more about it. But throughout the entire trilogy, they took a lot of the key Batman stories, and Christopher Nolan did a astounding job of integrating beats from those stories without straight up telling us those stories on screen. He did a really, really fantastic job. And I'll point out the elements in the next 2 reviews with what he did. But the whole Batman Year One thing, this is really... There's not. You were saying there wasn't a lot of villains. I mean, that goes into line with Batman Year One. There's not a lot of villains in Batman Year One because it's his first year of being Batman. The only villain that shows up in that comic is Scarecrow. I mean, not Scarecrow, but Catwoman. So, I mean...
And like I was saying while watching it, I would have loved a Scarecrow being the villain through the entire movie. Like, there needs to be, like... I'm hoping that with Ben Affleck's movies, maybe we'll get that. Maybe we'll get a cool Scarecrow similar to the Arkham game Scarecrow.
Oh, yeah,
like,
that'd be trippy.
That would be really cool, because we would dive into, like, some of that nightmare-esque, like, stuff where it's like he's, you know, making him trip out on some stuff. And, like, because the Arkham games did a good job at, like, there's a whole mission where you have to pretty much run through a nightmare. And it was really well done. Yeah,
and I mean, this is honestly like one of my favorite Batman films. I mean, out of all the Batman films that have been made, I mean, I love every single one of them. Except, I mean, I still haven't seen the '60s one, but that's just because it hasn't been available to me. But I still respect that series, even though it's campy and a lot of people don't like it. I still respect it because without that, we wouldn't have the dark, edgy Batman. We wouldn't have that. So, I mean. My final thoughts on the film, honestly, I mean, I love it. It's a fantastic film. You can watch it on its own if you don't want to, you know, see the rest of them. I mean, it's a great film nonetheless.
It's like with that cliffhanger at the end. How could you not watch the next movie?
That cliffhanger will hook you.
Which Colin said that Nolan wasn't even going to make another movie. Like, actually, didn't know that. I thought he pretty much planned it already. But I was like, and I told him, well, then they did a really good job at containing it as its own movie, but just adding this little thing, which may have been shot later on. You know, they may have added that to the movie.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan
before the theatrical release, he probably added the scene like with like you know, there's another one out there like in its little Joker card, and he's like, I'll look into it.
Yeah, that's another thing. I'm adding 2 points to that. You were saying, I said that Christopher Nolan wasn't planning on doing a sequel, but he also did say what made him want to do it was that tease at the very end. And they actually tease at the end of Batman Year One. They don't do the exact same thing, but you read in a caption bubble when Commissioner Gordon's talking at the end, that's the last bit of caption that you read, is he says, this guy I just called my friend, he's talking about Batman, and he says, there's this guy that's talking about poison in the Gotham River calls himself the Joker. You know, my friend will be here any minute to look into it. So, in a sense, he kind of did that at the end of Batman Year One.
It's a really good tease. I remember seeing it with my dad in theaters, and I think he said something, oh, wow, like whenever like he pulls out the card, because I'm sure my dad probably but he probably has seen the original Batman movie several times, so Joker, you know, it's cool that we got Joker in this series. I mean, you know, they could have left it out, but it's like, how can you?
No, I mean, how can you do a Batman? How can you do a Batman series without having Joker? I mean,
so yeah,
just some minor thing. I mean, I can't really think of pinpointing any negatives per se about this movie. I mean, if I did have a few nitpicks, it'd be like
something you gotta
sparsely
really think
throughout.
about, yeah.
Like it'd be very sparsely throughout, like that type of thing. It's nothing major at all that I have a problem with. Nolan did an excellent job with this Batman, and me not really having been exposed to the comics or any of that. I've mostly just been exposed to the Batman films. It stacks up extremely well, if not. Like, you know, I already, in my favorite movies list, I already said, you know, Dark Knight is one of my favorites and is in my top 10. But this is really good. Like, I felt bad not really including
really good
it.
for what it is.
Exactly. I mean, everything they could have done is done extremely
very well.
And it's
like Nolan, he hires the best cast. It's A+ cast, and
he's got that money.
And I just find it funny that he keeps rehiring the Scarecrow guy in all of his movies, and they're making a movie right now with each other too. So I find that funny.
It's just a great film. That couldn't be. The rewatch value is so good. Like,
and I told them like we gotta rewatch this on Blu-ray because I want to experience it in the best quality. Like after seeing it so many times on DVD. And like I'm just ready to upgrade. I love this box set. So, but my final thoughts is yes, it's a really well done Batman movie. Like for what Nolan did, I almost feel like at the time it probably like Colin told me it was just like he couldn't decide on a superhero. But then he chose Batman and that kind of fits his style. But before that idea came about, I wouldn't have thought that would fit his style. Like, I mean, you know, because he really wanted to do a modern Batman without any sci-fi or any DC universe related stuff, which is cool. I'm glad that they didn't try to mash this with the new Superman universe, although I thought that's what was going to happen, because Nolan was the producer of Man of Steel, so I just thought they were going to do that. It's like, no, they're going to redo Batman. Okay. but for this film itself, really well done. Really great origin for Batman, and I do not say that it's a good movie because I've seen it so many times as a kid and all this, and so I didn't think, no, it's just a good movie as an adult to sit and watch. You know, especially if you're a superhero fan, especially if you're a Batman fan. So, and even if you're not, I think it's something that can be enjoyed. And if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. Batman Begins is definitely a treat in itself. But for me and Ryan personally, The Dark Knight is the gem. And I don't know what Colin feels about that. Like, which one's your actual favorite?
I think I'll save that answer until we get to the very end of the trilogy.
Okay,
I think I'll save that until.
I think I would. Yeah, I see your point, because I really want to rewatch all of these just and review them freshly. But yeah, you can look forward to that. This is the start of the reviews for the Dark Knight trilogy, so definitely look forward to that. If you care, if you don't, get over it. It's going to be uploaded whether you like it or not. So yeah, I'd like to thank Colin for coming on here again with us, and I would like to welcome him to the channel permanently.
Thank you, guys.
Because this guy knows his stuff, and I feel like, you know, that he is going to be a good, what's the word?
Asset?
Yeah. I thought you were ending it with a certain word for a second. I was like, what?
No.
But no, like, I think he's going to be a good key in this. The Three Amigos, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what we are. We're just here.
Thanks so much for watching, guys. This is our review on Batman Begins. More reviews to come with the Dark Knight trilogy. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
And go check out my Dark Knight Rises worst review that I did way back when it came out, if you want. But otherwise...
otherwise, it's getting a re-review soon.
Yep.
From all three of us. And now you can... It's like our awkward studio where you have to climb over it.
That should totally be a director's cut.
It should.